Dr. Jones is a board-certified clinical hypnotherapist. He has been practicing hypnotherapy since the 1980s. He's the author of 22 books on hypnotherapy. He is a member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, American Board of Hypnotherapy, president of the American Alliance of Hypnotists, on the board of directors of the Los Angeles chapter of the American Lung Association, and director of the California State Registered Stephen G. Jones School of Hypnotherapy. In order to keep up with the very latest in research, he regularly attends training and conferences. Dr. Steve G. Jones, welcome back to Money for Lunch.
Oh, thank you. Good to be here.
All right. Hey, so I'm excited to talk to you about this because I know this is something that I think that we do all the time. We're always talking to ourselves. We're using these things called affirmations, whether we know it or not. So what are affirmations and how are they different from, let's say, hypnosis?
Well, affirmations are something we do during the daytime when we affirm to ourselves certain truths. It's kind of like us telling ourselves, oh, I told you so, when something doesn't work out. That would be a negative affirmation. We say that to ourselves in a number of ways, and that just affirms that what we thought about our possibilities is true for us. When something doesn't work out and we say, well, that's the way it goes for me, or, oh, well, it's just a Monday, or anything else that we affirm that's negative, we just make it true for ourselves. It doesn't mean it's true in the greater reality. It just means for ourselves in our heads it's true. We also use them for positive purposes to affirm that our new beliefs about the world, such as we can create anything we want at any time, that those beliefs are true.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. How do affirmations work? If we're using them all the time, how do they actually work?
Well, they work by getting through to our subconscious mind. You asked a moment ago the difference between an affirmation and hypnosis. Well, over time, they do become hypnotic because they get into our subconscious minds. But affirmations work by trickling down. Like a song you really don't like, but over time you hear it so much you memorize the words to it. So they actually work hypnotically, but a little slower, because in hypnosis you go into a hypnotic state and you receive something instantly. With affirmations, with saying things to yourself, it takes time to get down, to sink beneath the soil, if you will.
Gotcha. All right, well, then let me ask you this then. When it comes to affirmations, can people use affirmations to reach their goals, to get thinner, make more money, save more money? Walk me through this.
Oh, absolutely. Affirmations are very powerful in anything that you want to work on. So if you want to make more. Now, some people might look at that and say, well, I'm just going to say things to myself and I'm going to make more money. Sounds like hocus pocus. Sounds like magic. But really what happens is you have opportunities every day. All of us do. We have opportunities that present themselves. We either take advantage of these opportunities or we let them slip by, depending on how privileged we think we are to those opportunities, how much we deserve it, how much it fits with our big picture of our lives, how much we think it fits into our lives in general. So these opportunities are there for everyone. The millionaire and the homeless person, and barring any sort of mental illness. I understand that some people are homeless due to mental illness, but I'm talking about if you took two people, and one was a millionaire and one had nothing, but everything else was equal about them. There's really no reason why the person with nothing couldn't become a very successful person. And the successful person only became that, if everything else is equal, because he or she they believed in themselves. So affirmations over time program who we are, what we do, what we act on, what we don't act on. They dictate everything. So when it comes to wealth, we start making the decisions that start making us money.
It's interesting because, these affirmations really sometimes, just like our thoughts, we're not even aware that we're actually using them. I mean, I love your story, your illustration of the homeless man becoming, achieving great success and wealth, and I believe that what's this gentleman's name, Og Mandino, who was a best-selling author and speaker, he was exactly that. He was at one point homeless, and I think somebody told me or I read that he was alcoholic, and basically he used affirmations. He just changed the way he thought, and he just kind of became obsessive about telling himself or feeding himself good affirmations, and they finally started to sink in. And a lot, I think, that we struggle with, and I know you work with a lot of people, don't we just, as humans, tend to struggle with our own set of BS?
Oh, absolutely. When the phrase "you are your own worst enemy" is absolutely true. No one can beat you down like you can. In fact, I would propose that for people in a struggling situation, the only one really holding them down is themselves, because they allow those situations to get to them. They buy into the belief that they're stuck and that they don't have options. And once you buy into that, you're done, at least temporarily, until you figure out that it's your thinking that got you into it, and it's your thinking that can get you out of it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. All right, let's talk about this. How can people use affirmations to overcome fear of failure?
Well, fear of failure is something that has a lot to do with confidence. And whenever I work with someone, I always start with confidence. So it's really a matter of building up confidence. If you're afraid that you're going to fail, then you're afraid it's not going to work out. And you're afraid it's not going to work out because you don't have confidence that you have the ability to pull it off, or to handle it, or to make the best of it, or to be okay with it. So when someone has fear of failure, it's best to start with confidence. And the way we start with confidence, at least with affirmations, is to just affirm to ourselves a few times a day. It's kind of like the Saturday Night Live skit. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. As odd as that sounds, and as much as that's been made fun of, that kind of affirmation actually works if you say it to yourself several times a day. But it should be something personal. What is it that you're personally struggling with? Well, think about the negative side of that, then flip that around to the positive side of that. What would that look like if you phrased it in a positive way? Instead of, "I'm not going to amount to anything," switch around to, "I can accomplish anything I want to," and then make it specific. I
Right.
will accomplish X, Y, and Z, and make it in the here and now, which your subconscious mind will then strive to make reality. I have accomplished this. I am doing this. When you state it in the here and now, your subconscious mind looks for ways in your environment to make that your reality.
I love that strategy for a couple of reasons. A, it helps you become aware of the negative things that you're saying. So if you're saying, why am I broke, or why am I always broke, or why am I always fat, or why am I always late, then those are the things, as you said, you turn them around and you make them a positive affirmation. I manage my time for success. I manage my body for health and whatever. And so you can quickly turn them around. And I like the fact, like I said earlier, just it makes you aware of what self-talk you're using.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the whole key when it comes to suggestion, what Napoleon Hill would call autosuggestion. These suggestions that you're making to yourself, these affirmations, you've got to become aware of what you're saying, because think about if you hit your thumb with a hammer when you're nailing something and you say, "Oh, I'm such an idiot." Well, some people have that sort of dialogue in all sorts of situations in their lives, and it becomes their reality. They start acting like they think an idiot would act, making choices that really don't make sense. So we've got to catch that, and we've got to change that around. I am brilliant. I'm a genius. I make great decisions. Even though it may not sound true to the individual, if you say it often enough, your subconscious mind looks for ways to make that your personal reality and starts making much better decisions.
So whether or not you want something, whether or not it's true, you can make it a reality by using affirmations, and maybe, over time they become true, whether it's a positive affirmation or a negative affirmation is what you're saying.
Right. The only truth that exists is in our heads. What's the true religion? What's the one true religion? Well, you ask 10 different people from 10 different religious groups, they'll give you 10 different answers. The reason is that there is no answer. There's an individual answer in people's heads. Same thing with, how much money should you be able to earn in a year? You ask 10 different people at 10 different levels of success, you get different answers. The answer is there is no answer. There are only individual realities that we carry in our heads. So since that's the case, since we create our own reality, how about creating the reality of a millionaire? How How about creating the reality of a successful person, a happy person, a peaceful person? How about taking that on and affirming that that's your reality? Try it for 3 weeks. Do it for 3 weeks. Affirm that that's your reality, that I am happy, I am a millionaire, I am successful. Even if it's not your personal reality yet, if you say it enough, your subconscious mind takes it on and makes it real in your life.
I love it. You can start to work. Let me ask you this. When should people listen to affirmations, and then also for how long?
Well, affirmations are not hypnosis per se. They're not going to put you into a trance. You don't have to worry about not listening to them in a car, for example. Hypnosis, you never listen to it in a moving vehicle or while jogging or riding a bike or doing anything. You just listen to them hypnosis recordings while you're lying down or sitting down, and you're not going to fall out of a chair or anything if you go to sleep. And if you go to sleep listening to hypnosis, that's okay. Suggestions are different. Affirmations are different. If you just have affirmations, which are, a voice saying that you are an awesome person, you are wealthy, etc., that's not hypnosis, that's an affirmation. You can listen to it anytime. So affirmations you can listen to while you're jogging, while you're driving, while you're doing whatever you want. And we usually find that about 3 weeks is the average to sort of get it through someone's head, if you will, to make it stick, to make that change. But affirmations are kind of like vegetables. It'd be really difficult to overdose on them. So, you can listen to them more often during the day. I recommend 3 times a day, but you can listen to them more often. You can listen to them more often than just 3 weeks. 3 weeks is fine, then you can move on to something else. But you can listen to them for 3 weeks if you want to, cap it at that, and then move on to something else you want to work on.
I love it. I love it. All right, well, let's talk about this. One of my staffers saw a message on Facebook that you are going to be doing a TV special or some kind of TV show in Phoenix. Tell us about this.
Yeah, it'll be with a major network. You remember the unfortunate case recently of the bullying, and the girl committed suicide because she was bullied, and the bullies are now going to. I think they're kids, basically. I think they're teenagers, and I believe they're going to face some criminal charges. This is an indication that this sort of thing has gotten way out of hand. When the law is willing to step in, and to my understanding, what's going on is they're going to press criminal charges against essentially children for bullying, which is essentially using words. So think about it. No, as far as I know, they didn't lay hands on this person. Now, this is just to the best of my information. They just used words to put this person down, sort of like affirmations, negative affirmations. Though this girl was so upset by this over time that she took her own life. And now the law is stepping in and saying, no more. We're tired of this bullying stuff. It's gotten way out of hand in too many schools. So we're going to step in too many people's lives. This is taking a toll, and now we have a death. It's too much. So I want to help out. I want to. I've found a network in Phoenix that feels the same way I do, and so we're going to find a family that has a child that's being bullied. I'm going to work with that child. I'm going to offer my services to that child at no charge to help build up their self-esteem, to help them become resistant to this. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go and confront the bullies. That's not my position in this. I would hope the parents would do that. What I'm going to do is work with that child as any parent can work with their child and build that child up, except I'm going to do it more quickly and more efficiently because I'm going to be using hypnosis. I'm also going to be teaching the child about positive affirmations to make sure that they stay upbeat, so they're resistant to this, not only now, but in the future in their lives.
I love it. I love it. Great. And so you'll keep us, up to date on that show as it moves through, and maybe you and I can get together and have a cup of coffee or something when you're in Phoenix.
That sounds great. And for more information on hypnosis, check out my website, stevegjones.com. I've also got a free download for the listeners at stevegjones.com.